Hi, moms. I'm Mari Brookshire. I'm the owner of Nourish Wellness, and I'm also a trainer. And I have my lovely assistant here. If you'll introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a trainer for Maury with Nurse Wellness, and I'm 34 weeks pregnant today.
Yeah, she has a beautiful bump. And so our video today is going to talk, we are going to talk about activating your core and help you activate your core during pregnancy. With the growth of baby, obviously, it can become more difficult with each day, with each week. But hopefully, the tips we provide you today and with Katie modeling, it will help you to connect to your core. So, when it comes to activating your core, the first thing you have to do is check in with your posture and check in with your alignment. Because if your alignment or your posture is we've got all these misalignments going on, well, then it's going to be really difficult to activate your core because the way that we activate the core is through our breathing. And so we need to line up our diaphragm. So you have three diaphragms. You have your mouth, you have your diaphragm, your respiratory diaphragm, and then you have your pelvic floor diaphragm. So we know during pregnancy, our body starts to move and compensate. And so we want to check in with our posture to try to line up these three diaphragms so that we can breathe properly and connect to our core. Having a nice, strong core is going to help you be more comfortable throughout your pregnancy because your back is going to be really supported, and hopefully it will bring you some more comfort. And hopefully too, by keeping a nice strong core, you can prevent the severity of your diastasis, which naturally occurs, and we can hopefully prevent some pelvic floor issues that could arise when the core is not turned on throughout our pregnancy. Okay, so I'm going to have Katie turn to her side and we are going to just check in from the ground up. So if you are pregnant, I encourage you to check in throughout your day, not just when you are going to exercise, but when you wake up, when you are taking a mid morning break, when you are cooking. Check in with your posture throughout your day. Okay. Okay, so you are going to check in. she's Katie's going to kind of rock from heel to toe on her feet. Okay, and she wants to ensure that the weight of her body is distributed from toe to heel. Sometimes we might be hanging out on our toes, we might be hanging out on our heels, and not evenly distributing our weight. So I want you to start with your feet, and then she's going to move from the ground up into her knees. It's common during pregnancy that we lock out the knees. So you might lock out your knees, press them back, because you can see how her belly went forward. That's what's causing us to lock out our knees. When our core turns off, that load goes forward and we press those knees back. And then you might bend your knees and just be in this bent knee position with a tucked bottom. So her bottom goes from neutral to tucked when she bends her knees. So you want to just check in from locked to bent and then bring those knees to a nice soft position. When your knees are soft, your beautiful pelvis is also going to be in a more neutral position. Your pelvis is naturally going to move throughout pregnancy as that belly grows. But after you've checked in with those knees, you've got them nice and soft. I want you to then, you can place your hands on your hips and bring your hips to an anterior pelvic tilt. That means the hip bones go forward and that pubic bone goes up, okay? Because the weight of belly is pulling forward and that back is turning on. This is what creates that back pain. Or I saw her rock to that posterior tilt. She's tucking that bum under and gripping her glutes. And when glutes are gripped and turned on all the time, that results in a pelvic floor issue. So we want to bring that pelvis to as neutral of a position as possible. So then you see her hands move up. So she's going to jump from her pelvis to ribs. And this is huge, constantly finding that rib cage to pelvis connection during your pregnancy is going to be very beneficial. So naturally, rib cage, obviously, with the growth of belly, is going to flare and open up. When we open up that rib cage, that respiratory diaphragm ends up out of alignment with our pelvic floor diaphragm. So she's going to do her best to bring that rib cage a hair down, almost like you're knitting it together to find that rib cage to pelvis connection. And you can see this is going to protect her back. If Katie flares her ribs, flare your ribs for me. Look at her hinge point in her back. That's going to tighten her back, no expansion back there, and that's going to cause some pain there. So you can think about that high hinge point. We don't want that created any more than the belly is going to naturally cause it to come into play. So then she's going to relax her arms by her side. And notice she's got a nice plumb line. Her shoulders are coming down with her hip bones. Her bum is behind the shoulders. Notice as she went to that posterior tilt again, go to that posterior tilt, tuck the bum. Notice how her shoulders go back. Okay, we don't want her plumb line there. We want it back to where she was. That's perfect. And she also doesn't not need to go into like military posture, okay, because that's going to tighten, hurt the back. See, that creates that hinge point, nice and soft. And last but not least, she's going to take her 2 fingers to her chin and tuck. And notice how her diaphragm lines up with her respiratory diaphragm. If she would take her chin up, she looks up, notice that takes her diaphragm out of alignment, or she brings her chin down and pretends she's been on her phone or a computer all day and presses her head out. So there you go. So that's going to hurt that neck. We don't want that forward head posture. So that 2-finger trick is easy peasy, and it's going to go a long way to get you comfortable. And then she's going to lengthen through the crown of her head, and now she is set up to breathe beautifully and deeply and to turn on her core. So turn towards us, Katie. Okay. So if you want right now, if you're watching this, I want you to place your hand on your chest and your hand on like either your belly or below your belly, and take some natural breaths and think about which hand is rising more, okay? Or you might notice that the chest is rising more, and maybe you're in this shallow breathing and you're probably thinking, well, Maury, I've got this big belly. There's no way I could get my breath to go down. But we want our lower hand on that lower belly or on that abdominal wall to rise and feel that expansion more than we feel this chest rising, okay? So go ahead and now take your hands to your rib cage. So this deep breathing, first and foremost, we need our lungs to expand. So you've got lungs and they wrap around from the front to the back. So I want you to first take a deep breath, inhale, try to get some expansion into the creases of your hand. And you can watch Katie's lungs and see how she's working to get that expansion into the side body. You might even want to feel it in the thumbs behind you, because if that back is tight and hurting, it means you're not getting enough back body expansion. So you can do this standing. You can even lay down on your side and place your hand if that's more comfortable to you, and try to get that side body and back body expansion. When the rib cage moves like Katie is right now, we know that that breath is going down. And when it comes past the respiratory diaphragm, it's going to allow the abdominal wall to gently relax. It's going to also allow her pelvic floor to relax. Now she's going to shift her focus to exhaling from the lower transverse abdominals. That belly is going to slightly come in, and then she expels that air past the respiratory diaphragm. So you might even want to place your hands underneath the belly. And so Katie's going to inhale down and then exhale nice and deeply. You can see that logo on her belly. It slightly comes in, But before it comes in, she's turning on her lower transverse abdominals, which is going to be more difficult to do or feel as that belly grows. So Katie, turn to the side and we'll just um, watch that beautiful belly as she exhales and just lifts up. I just wanted them to be able to see how she creates tension underneath the belly and the navel slightly comes in. So Katie, anything that you've noticed that I haven't pointed out while you're taking these deep breaths?
It's almost like it's a little more effort to think about because, like you said, naturally your chest wants to do all the work. But when you use your breath all the way down, your belly, your baby essentially, and belly comes out and then draws up and in. And that's what kind of helps the pelvic floor work and assist with that breathing, which is important. And you feel like you get more oxygen to you and your baby by doing that as well.
Right. So that's also going to help her relax. And this is, you can do this actively throughout your day. Just take 2-minute breaks here and there throughout your day to check in to make sure you're not in a shallow breathing pattern. But hopefully, with these continual check ins, that's going to help you throughout your day to passively do this without having to stand there and think so hard about it. And more importantly, too, when you go into an activity where you decide to rearrange the baby's nursery, or you decide you're going to push a couch today, or you were going to an exercise class, you want to really focus on this deep breathing and contracting and lifting, because if not, when you go to move that sofa, you're going to inhale and probably just bear down and put a lot of pressure down on the pelvic floor or a lot of pressure out. So take this into those activities that are going to exert more energy. So she did this standing. I'm going to have Katie come into a table position. So on your hands and knees. And while she's getting situated, you can do this standing. You can then come to kneeling and just activate that core. You can even lay on your back as long as you don't have any other issues in the prenatal period, and place your feet on the wall in a nice 90-degree angle and try to focus on your breathing there. You can also come to this position that Katie is in. So Katie is aligning her knees with her hips as best as possible. She's trying to lengthen through this tailbone. She's not going to tuck under, okay? So she's lengthening here. She's got those wrists lined up with the shoulders. She's going to come into that chin tuck a little bit more and try to look a little more down, Katie, and lengthen from the crown of the head. So tuck the chin for me. There you go, and lengthen, okay? So naturally, just here, she's not even a full plank. There's some natural inter-abdominal pressure, meaning gravity's pulling the weight of that load down. So we're going to see if you can notice how Katie inhales and expands that rib cage beautifully. Then exhale, lifts up from the TAs, belly gently draws in beautifully. So it's all about how you manage this core canister. And notice she's got those diaphragms lined up to the best of her ability. So we're thinking from the mouth, that respiratory diaphragm, and into that pelvic floor diaphragm. So Katie, go ahead and come onto your back for me. So she's carefully going down to the side, rolling on her back beautifully. And I want you to take either one or both legs into tabletop. Okay, and point the toes. So this is, I just want to show moms another great way to connect to the core. So you can come into a supine position for a short amount of time, and she can place her hand underneath that belly. So in that area, and when she's in supine, just resting, she can try to inhale into that side body, into her yoga mat, and then exhale, lift up from the pelvic floor, Gently draw that belly up and in, rib cage knits together. You can also, I'm not going to have her do it here because we won't be able to see well, but she could turn and put her feet on the wall in a flex position just for a little bit more support in that tabletop position. So I'm going to show you here, Katie, this is how you can safely, without bearing down and creating any more pressure, she's going to gently roll to her side on an exhale. And then she's going to inhale, down, exhale, press up. So this is a beautiful way to help support that core instead of crunching or sitting up, okay? And the one more thing we wanted to show you was Katie's gonna sit in that chair that she has handy. And we know that there will be many nights where you curl up on your sofa to either watch a show for an hour or read a book or mindless scrolling, whatever you're doing. But then if you're doing this, let's say every night, and let's say every night, I'm not going to have her do this, you get up from this really comfortable position without activating the core. Well, that bearing down and that pressure without a core activation is going to create a diastasis. It could create a hernia. It could create a pelvic floor issue. Because think that you're pregnant for 9 months average, right? And continually that one act of getting up and bearing down can create a host of problems that all the while could have been prevented. So Katie is going to, let's say she just finished watching the show, she's ready to go to bed, but she's going to try to mindfully activate the core one more time. So what you can do is place your hand on that belly. This belly area is where your rectus abdominis bellies connect with a tissue called your linea alba. And we want to support that linea alba right now because we know that that linea alba has been stretched out and the integrity has been a little bit lost to help support the growth of baby. So she's going to take a nice big inhale, a big exhale to come up. Then she's going to align that spine, find that rib cage to pelvis connection. A nice big inhale, and then when she begins to exhale, then she'll press up. And look, if she did that at least three out of the 7 times she gets up off the sofa each week, that's going to go a long way. Just activating your core when you're getting up out of anything where it would require you to bear down otherwise. So that is how you activate your core, posture, breathing, lining up those 3 diaphragms. And hopefully this will help you prevent, be proactive on the front end so that your healing and your recovery during the postpartum period is a little bit easier. Anything else, Katie?
I think you covered it. I mean, basically, it's just keeping in mind daily activities, working out, even when you're not on your back or just standing or kneeling. I mean, working side work and a side plank, activating that core, but still breathing. Because a lot of times we hold our breath when we're really concentrating on something, and just being mindful of protecting yourself and your baby by engaging in breathing.
Right, right. Those are all such good points that if you find you're really struggling to make that connection and you can't do it on your own, please reach out to us. If you don't have a good women's health physical therapist, we're connected with a few that it would only take a meeting or two to help you connect to your core, and it will be so worth it in the long run. So we hope this helped. Comment below and let us know if you have any questions or would like a video for us to elaborate on another topic. Thank you.